Oh, good morning. 6 a.m. Running a little late. You know, this is not a go at Filipinas, but it's an understanding of Filipino. Have you noticed how when you think about something, as a Westerner, we maybe think about buying a car, a motorbike, electric planer, whatever it is. We naturally look up about this or that about it. We do a bit of research and we think about doing something. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but we do. We think about these things. For a Filipina, once they have the dosh in their hand, they don't think about it anymore. They just go. It's burning their hand. It's burning their mind that they need to spend it. It's almost like immediate gratification. You know, you can give your wife an allowance. I call it the household money. You can give her 10, maybe 5 every week. Whatever you do, it's never enough. And what I mean by that is, it might be enough to buy everything that she really needed, but she can't hold on to it for long because that's not in their nature. It's not taking the mickey at them. It's the reality that they don't understand the real meaning of money. Yes, of course, money means I can go and buy this or I can go and buy that. But there's no thought for tomorrow. There's no thought for maybe later on when something else pops up. Oh well, I'll just ask for some more. That's not the way to live. And I'm sure that many of you would realize that. But for those lovely ladies, they automatically assume if there's not enough, we'll soon find some more somewhere else. You know, budgeting. So many videos out there. How much budget do you need to live in the Philippines? How long is a piece of string, as we all say? Because quite simply, there is no budget that fits everybody. Nobody has the same budget as the bloke next door or the lady up the road. It's impossible. It's how you want to live your life. If you're happy having rice and dried fish, then your expenses, not your budget, your expenses are going to be lower. If you want to have a morning cereal, bacon and eggs, sausages, as your morning get up and go meal, then you have to allow that costs every week. Now that might not seem like a lot of money, but whatever it is money. So if you choose to drink a lot of water, it means you're going to spend X number of pesos on your delivered water. If you do a lot of cooking at home, and it's not wood, but it's not electric either, it's a gas one. So your 13 kg bottle of gas won't go as far as somebody who makes maybe 1 or 2 meals a day, when in fact there's always somebody cooking something in the house at any given time. Well then, of course, your gas will run out. The common sense way of approaching that is to have at least two bottles, one being used and the other one as a backup. Not empty, but full. And when I say not empty, the minute the first one becomes empty, go and get it filled. It just makes common sense to me. An average 13 kg bottle is in the region of 1,000 pesos. Sometimes lower, sometimes a little bit higher, depending on where you're living. And of course the price of LPG. The other thing to remember is that you can look at your own money coming in by way of your pension. You can say, well, this week we could afford to do this, or we could afford to do that. For a Filipino, it's not like that at all. They see, oh, payday again. We can go and do this. Now, yes, we could, but by doing so, we might deplete most of what we plan to use for the next 4 weeks, not the next week. And that's the problem. How do you teach or encourage, rather than teach, your better half, so to speak, when in fact they've spent their life telling their children, their families, that you're doing well now, you're with a foreigner. And of course those outside of that group will think, isn't she lucky? You're so lucky, you're blessed. And of course that just blows them away. They won't say it, but you can see them beaming from ear to ear. But the reality is that they also know that he who must be obeyed in terms of his wallet doesn't always become so free with his money. Why is that? Well, because we foreigners need to keep a handle on what we spend. There's no point in living like maybe some of us used to when we were in the West, as many do, from one payday to the next, getting to maybe a Friday payday and only having a few pounds left or $1 or so in your pocket. Not a good way of living, but millions do. That's why they have these payday loans. Terrible. Borrowing money against your wages, only to have a certain percentage taken before you even receive what you've got back, minus the loan. You know, money is important here in this country, and Filipinos have found the ability to discover ways of making money very easily. Anything they put their hand to, they will find. I remember Simon saying in here, I think it was his latest video, about how recycled stuff, the stuff you throw out, the garbage, plastic, metal, objects of art, old washing machines, all have a price. Now, you would think, yes, somebody can make use of that. I won't throw it in the garbage bin. I'll keep it aside and give it to him when he comes past asking for it. He talks about them coming along the road with a motorbike and sidecar. Some of them do, but where I lived, most of the time they came with a bamboo stick over their shoulder and a bag on both ends of the bamboo. And they would collect old rice bags full of recyclable items, and they'd come out, they'd always be carrying their little weighing scales so they could buy the plastic from you and give you a few pesos for the luxury of giving it to him. So obviously he makes a bit of money on top when he then sells it to the scrap merchant, the other recycler. They're often called junk shops. Well, I call them the the steptoe and son places. They're dotted around everywhere. But when I first started realizing that that's what happened here, I used to say, like with Simon, no, you can have it, it's free. And they would be quite surprised that you're letting them have it for free, very thankful. But my partner at the time used to say, no, we can get money on that. I could have got 40 pesos or 60 pesos. And I think, oh, that guy's trying to make a living. Why would we worry about stuff that we were going to chuck out? Why would we be sitting there haggling with him as to price that we're letting him take it away for us? Otherwise, we've got to pay somebody to take it away. This way, they're paying us, as she said. But yes, it's amazing what anybody is able to make a living, scratch a few pesos every day. It shows the enterprise, the way that life molds those here in the Philippines in a way that we never think about in the West. We never think about. Imagine trying to get a local council to pay you to take your recyclable away. As Simon said, you'll get a fine if you put it in the wrong bin. We have been conditioned in the West to give all our money to these elected officials, or appointed officials, I should say. And we've just sat back and allowed them to impose all these sorts of rules on us. They don't apply here. And that's one of the wonderful things about life in the Philippines. My dear friend Ian sent me a video there yesterday, I think it was, about life in the 60s. Many of you who come from the UK will remember, if you were a child in the 60s, Cracker Jack. Do you remember that, Cracker Jack? Do you remember sitting down and watching Cracker Jack? Well, the video is about 20 minutes long, and it goes through so many parts of what life was like. Life when your parents used to say, go on, out you go, Johnny, go and play. Make sure you're home by tea time. We all knew when tea time came, just as it was just starting to get a bit dusk in the sky. And it does remind you, you do forget you don't really forget it, but you just put it aside and realize you got to live through that. What will the children of today think about life as a child was for them? Telephones, oh my God, multimedia, everything. Nothing like picking up a stick, dragging it along a fence pole, making running onto a bus, swinging on the handle, the pole at the back of the bus, and elevating yourself to the steps that wind in a slight circle up to the upper floor, and running to the front so you can see from the front window. And the man coming along, the bus conductor, with his little as he gave you a ticket. Penny gobstoppers, all that type of stuff. Beano magazines, what do they call it? Comics. It is, in a way, Philippines of today. If you take out the mobile phone, yes, of course, you would see everybody lying on the ground like a fish, trying to get its last gasp of air before it finally croaks. But jokes aside, if there wasn't all the multimedia, yes, life would be like it was in the 60s here. You go out to the provinces And you don't always see, but you will see, but you don't always see children with mobile phones. You see kids playing together. You see them climbing trees. You see them wandering around aimlessly, laughing, crying sometimes because one of the elder siblings has maybe been a bit cruel to them. But they pop back up again and carry on running down the lane, just like we used to do when we were kids. That's the reason living in the Philippines is such a great place. It's like being able to remember, but to actually do it again, see it again. In a way, looking at a hovel, a hut, something they call home, is a bit like looking at a little camp you used to build in the woods and spend hours sitting underneath your made-up little camp. But for them, it's home. And when you think of the storms that have just come, it's quite despairing to see they've lost everything. But somehow they haven't lost the spirit of picking it all up again and starting again. Some of us in the West would just say, this is futile. What's the point? And of course, Social Security would hop in and help you if you're lucky. But certainly a lot better than what is available here. And again, a shout out to the GMA network, who are seen everywhere here in the Philippines, giving out well-needed, well-required bundles of food and often clothes. And of course, one thing that you can remember is that rather than throw out your old clothes or even hoard them, why not bag them up, take them down to your local barangay? Don't tell just one person, tell everyone. They're all free. Free to those that would like them. Maybe even go down, especially on a day when there's a group of the community there, sitting there having some kind of a lecture or an event, and just say, can I interrupt just for a minute, sir? All these clothes are free. Nothing wrong with them. You're welcome to them. And you watch. They'll be gladly received. It's like donating, but not necessarily giving money. But for them, it clearly is something. Yes, you're going to get a few people who'll pick them up and maybe add them to their own little collection and maybe sell them online. But does that matter? They're turning it into something that they want. They don't want to wear it. They can maybe sell it and make some money. Nobody's going to stop them. But just to take all your clothes down and give it to a retailer to sell, it's not the same as donating it in front of the community, free. Because first of all, it shows that you're part of the community and you care. And I think that that's important. You know, remember, Christmas is almost upon us, some 40 odd days away. It's time to remember those that are less fortunate and maybe help them with maybe by going and buying a 50 kg bag of rice and putting a couple of kg in a bag each and just giving it to people that you can see are in need. I'm sure that they'd be more than grateful to have it. Just ideas and thoughts for my morning. Bye now.